Hello, listeners, and welcome to the Sailing and Cruising the East Coast of the United States podcast. I'm Bela Musitz. This is a quick update to episode 41, which was all about cleaning the Salon seat cushions on Paradox, our 2009 Hunter 45 deck Salon. But first, I'd like to acknowledge Robert James Lattanzio. He is the newest supporter of this podcast. Thank you, Robert. If you'd like to support the podcast, you can click on the link at the bottom of the show notes, and it will take you to the Anchor site, where you can support the podcast starting with as little as 99 cents a month. So, back to our episode. The good news is that I have washed all of the cloth seat cushions, and they have turned out great. They had a little bit of some water stains, which originated from some deck leaks. Some of these stains are still a little bit visible, but all of the other dirt from 12 years of sailing this boat around by the previous owner, and even the water stains, are a lot better than they were before. So all of the other dirt is gone. There's still a little bit of water stain visible, but I'm quite happy how they turned out. After all, they're a light beige color, and I don't know why they picked that color for a sailboat, but they did. Probably looked good in the catalog, but it's going to show dirt that accumulates over time. So we're quite happy with it turned out. So as you may recall from episode 41, which was the precursor to this one about the seat cushions, the most difficult part was getting the seat cushion foam back into the cover. And that was the most difficult part of that job. You know, and these seat cushions are really complex. I was surprised. I would have just kind of expected a rectangular, piece of foam that gets shoved into this case. But all of the seat cushions have like 2 or 3 compartments into which a separate piece of foam is inserted. So it's not just your kind of simple rectangular one compartment seat cushion. In addition, each foam insert is constructed out of 2 different densities of foam, and they're sort of glued together, and then they're sculptured into round corners and various different tapers. So when you're inserting them back into the covers, not only do they need to be orientated properly, but you got to push everything into the nooks and crannies. So it's not just as simple as taking a flat rectangular piece of foam and putting it into a rectangular seat cushion. It took me anywhere from 5 to 10 minutes to insert each piece of foam back into the covers. A few days after releasing the episode about the seat cushions, I received a very nice email from Joe Hagan. Joe was a guest on this podcast back in episode 12. Joe runs Offshore Adventure Sailing, where he takes folks out on multi-day sailing adventures. To learn more about Joe and offshore adventure sailing, just give episode 12 a listen. Now, back to his email. Joe wrote to me, and I'm reading his email now. Hi, Bela. I just listened to your podcast about your cabin cushions, and I feel compelled to offer a couple of suggestions. Number 1, it's useful to launder the covers of your cushions every now and then. Stain remover, woolite, gentle cycle, as you probably figured out. But getting the foam itself clean and salt-free is very difficult, if not impossible. We wrap our cushion foam in a silk wrap available from Sailrite. It not only keeps salt water and dust out of the foam, but it also makes it easy to get the covers back on. And in his email, Joe sends me a link to a YouTube video put out by Sailrite, which I'll have in the show notes. Number 2, another cushion cleaning trick is a lint roller. You'd be amazed, or in quotes he puts disgusted with a question mark, the first time you use your cabin cushions. I hope you're doing well, Joe. So Joe, thanks for the great tips. Joe takes a lot of people on his boat, so I'm sure he is cleaning and washing the seat cushions often to keep them looking good. And the lint roller is really a great tip. My son has 2 dogs, and every time I go to visit him, when I come home, my clothes are covered with dog hair. And I have one of those lint removers. It's a roller. It's sort of a sticky, like piece of tape, and it picks up the lint and all sorts of other stuff besides the dog hair off of my clothes. So having one of these on the boat is a great idea, Joe. Thank you very much. And we will be getting one for sure. Now, the silk wrap tip is a game changer. This is the really good one, Joe. When I took the foam out of the cushions, there was remnants of silk wrap around the foam. It was mostly torn, and I assumed it was there to help keep water from getting into the foam. So it's something that Hunter clearly used to insert the foam into the covers back when they were made. So what is silk wrap? So best as I can describe it, silk wrap is sort of like saran wrap, stuff that you use in your kitchen, but it's even thinner, it's even softer, and it's not as clingy. And basically what you do with this silk wrap is you wrap the foam in silk wrap with generous portions along the edges so they overlap, and you also wrap in the suction end of a vacuum cleaner hose. And then magically when you turn on the vacuum cleaner, it sucks all of the air out as the silk wrap sort of seals itself all around the foam. And the foam shrinks to about 1/3 of its actual size. It's the same idea that those vacuum bags that you can buy at the store to kind of put your bulky sweater in. It's a bag you can buy, you put your sweater in it, you Ziploc it, there's a place to insert a vacuum hose, and lo and behold, your sweater shrinks down to this tiny little thing. So when you're storing it for the summer, it's a great way to do it. Same basic idea. So once you've turned on the vacuum and the foam has shrunk down to about 1/3 of its size, you can turn the vacuum cleaner off, remove the hose, and insert the foam into the covers. And the silk wrap will slowly let air leak in, and the foam will expand back to its normal size. So as it's sort of expanding back to its normal size, you can adjust it in the openings and move it around to make sure that it sort of goes into the right place. And at the same time, the silk wrap will help to keep any moisture or water out of getting into the foam itself. So now, truth be told, I have not tried silk wrap because Joe's wonderful recommendation came after I was finished with the project. But the next time I will for sure. Now, silk wrap is sold by a company called Sailrite. And Sailrite is a business that sells all sorts of do-it-yourself products for sailors, along with, sewing machines for sewing canvas, with all sorts of great instructions and patterns, canvas material, thread, and this silk wrap material. And the other interesting thing about Sailrite is they have great instructional videos on how to use all of their products. So if you're interested in this, it's sure worth going to the Sailrite website and looking for the videos and looking up silk wrap. So you can check out their site at sailrite.com. That's SAILRITE.com. And I'll have the link in the show notes for you as well. So thanks again, Joe, for taking the time to pass along this great information. And listeners, make sure you check out Joe's Offshore Adventure Sailing. You can find that at offshoreadventuresailing.com. And thanks for joining us for this quick update episode. I hope you found our conversation interesting and thought-provoking. And if you have any questions about what I talked about, please feel to send along an email. The email address is sailingtheeast@gmail.com. Hey, and if you enjoyed the podcast, hit that follow button on your favorite podcasting application. And if you know of someone that would be a good guest for the show, let me know. I'd love to interview him and share his or her wisdom with all of our listeners. So until next time, signing off from upstate New York. See you soon.
you.